On this episode of Side Questing, we rock to Pokemon.
I wanna be the very best, like no one ever was.
Welcome to Podtendo's Side Questing podcast, where we talk about a little bit of this and a little bit of that. We can be contacted on Twitter at Podtendo Podcast, email us at podtendo@gmail.com, or check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/podtendo. I'm your host, Mick, and I will be joined every episode by a very special guest. This week's special guest is...
Tyson.
Hooray! Are you ready to go on a side quest?
Of course.
So side questing is our side show that we do, where we discuss topics that aren't necessarily Nintendo games. Basically, that's how it works. We wanted an outlet in case we wanted to talk about maybe the new Doom game, if we want to talk about TV shows, if we want to talk about life in general. This is our outlet for it.
Yeah.
So on this episode, on this side quest, we're going to look at a few episodes of the Pokemon TV show, talk about video game challenges, and we will end with our online classic. So ready to jump right into the Pokemon TV show?
Definitely.
All right. It was on in 1998, and I heard about it from a friend. I remember really wanting to watch the Pokemon TV show. It seemed so cool. It was a show that followed a video game, and that was unheard of. The first episode I remember seeing was the one that where Ash catches Caterpie. We were visiting our dad on the road, and I was instantly hooked. Probably saw one or two more at a friend's house, and then I watched most of them on Sunday mornings on Kids WB. How about yourself?
Yeah, the same. Well, being out in small town BC, it was we didn't really have the best options for TV. So I think when did we get it? Like, when did we get satellite? Was it satellite or was it cable first?
It was cable, because it was channel 30 was Kids WB. Right. So that would have been, I think we had that probably whenever the Timon and Pumbaa show was on, because I remember watching, it was like Disney Afternoon.
Yeah, that and Aladdin and stuff.
Yeah, so probably like, I don't know, 96, 97, so it was before this, but Pokemon wasn't brought to Kids WB to probably 99, closer to 2000, I'm thinking.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
The highlight for me was there was a long September long weekend, so it was the Monday right before we all went back to school, and they had a marathon on YTV. There was the kind of the series or the story arc where he fought Blaine and Charizard finally decided to be his friend, and that was also kind of my introduction to Dragon Ball Z for the very first time. But that's definitely a topic for another show.
Yeah, and we'll have to leave that for another show because we will go on and on about that show.
Yeah, like that's definitely... I've had probably about 3 iterations. It's come back into my life about 3 times, so it's a big deal. Whereas the Pokemon show, let's go through it, and then I can tell you about why I'm disappointed that I watched this as a child. So, so we both started with episode 1, I Choose You.
Yep.
So this episode was kind of cool. It starts off just like the game. You get that kind of that Game Boy ping sound, and it shows the Gengar fighting the Nidorino from the game.
Yeah.
Goes into real life, or not real life, but goes in kind of to the animation from the show of what was going on. I think it's Bruno versus Agatha of the Elite Four being televised.
I honestly didn't catch it.
Okay.
But it could have been. I feel like that's right.
So my theory is Gengar is Agatha's Pokemon. Bruno, kind of like a bigger guy with a ponytail.
Yeah.
So the only muscular trainer that I know that looks like that is Bruno, and then the next Pokemon he brings out on the show is the Onix. So it kind of fits with the Pokemon he would use. Weird TV, though, in this world, because the commercial literally right after that is Professor Oak on TV just telling the kids about the 3 starter Pokemon. So he has ad time in this world, maybe just in that community, of saying, hey, there are 3 10-year-old boys, or that are... Maybe there's 4, 5. I think there's 5 of them. There's 3 children. There's 3 children going out tomorrow, and they're all 10, and they're going to get Pokemon. These are the Pokemons. I also think everyone in this world might be fucking retarded, so we'll get into that, though.
Yeah, they definitely have some sort of brain damage or there's something in the water.
Yeah, so you need to be 10 years old to get your Pokemon license. What were you doing when you were 10?
Jumping on a trampoline and swimming.
Yeah, I was thinking, think the longest time I ever left home when I was 10 was we went to like an overnight camp with scouts the one year.
Yeah.
And that night I ended up, like, as I was going to bed, I was crying and wanted my mom, and our dad had to drive me and you home. And we ended up like having like apple cider or something. And that was like, I was 25 minutes away from my house and my mom, and I couldn't handle it. And like my dad, who was with me, had to take me home because I was being a big baby. So I clearly didn't have the chops to be a Pokemon trainer. Just like every other anime or Japanese story, it's the hero sleeps in. He wakes up, he's in a rush. I don't know why guys just don't set their alarm, you know? Like, god damn it. Ash meets Gary for the very first time. He gets in to meet Professor Oak, even though he's late. He chooses Squirtle, but Squirtle's already been chosen. So then he takes Bulbasaur, and then Charmander. But again, those other two Pokemon have been taken. He's like, why don't I just give you the last Pokemon I have? Why did you just do that in the first place, Professor Oak? Why not be a dick? Like,
yeah, like, why did you really have to make him choose all three?
Oh, is that what you want? You can't have it. Oh, okay. God damn you, Oak.
Why are these balls still here? Why are they not with the trainer?
Yeah, like, they're just
Did
empty.
you forget to give them this?
They're just
Or is there just like are they like just a Squirtle and a Bulbasaur and a Charmander out there in the world just wander around behind somebody?
It could be, I suppose. I mean, like, no, but he takes Pikachu's Pokeball. He just doesn't want to get into it. So sorry. Then he finally gets Pikachu. Big shock. Pikachu is Ash's Pokemon in the TV show.
Yeah.
Why Pikachu? That's my question. Why Pikachu?
It's the most marketable Pokemon.
Is that what it was? Like, people were looking and they looked at like the early toy sales and they said, "Hey, man, people are loving this Pikachu character. We have to make him a main character." So is that kind of the logic you figure behind it?
I think because it originally started as a manga. So what, like, and like I don't remember exactly. Like, I don't know if it was a Pikachu to start, but I want to say that, like, essentially they were like, he needs a one to choose first, and it was just basically popularity contest. It was like that one.
Okay.
So
so they did make
I don't
a
know
note.
if it was internally. Anyways.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. They did make a note that the Pokeballs confines the Pokemon, which I feel like is kind of a weird wording. It kind of sounds almost like slavery or something like that. So I made a note of that. When Ash goes out into the field with Pikachu, he sees a Pidgey and says, "Hey, look, there's a Pidgey." He then literally forgets everything else from this point. There's a Spearow right next to him. A Rattata runs by. He pulls out his Pokedex, and he's scanning all these things, and they're telling him about it. So basically, Ash knows Bulbasaur, Squirtle, Charmander, and Pidgey. So that would be like being a 10-year-old boy and not knowing any animals in the world. Going to the zoo and having a little guy that walking around is like, "What's that?" Like, "That is a dog." "Oh, wow, that's amazing. What does the dogs do?" "A dog can do some I don't... Why? Why does he have to use the Pokedex for everything?
Yeah, the Pokedex is kind of useless. Like, I don't know, but most games, I just don't even, I never crack the encyclopedia if there is one inside the game, or like the guide or whatever, or the codex, or whatever they want to call it, because there's one in every fucking game,
Yeah,
just like the Pokedex. And I just never go into it. Like, there's no useful information in there.
You just figure it out. Like, it shouldn't be that tough,
Yeah.
Ash. Grow up.
God damn it, man.
So the one neat thing is that it's a very similar narrative in the game as well as the show. And is the display in the game the Pokedex? So every time you get into a battle, so they state in the show that wild Pokemon attack trainers because they're jealous of their Pokemon, because every Pokemon wants to be owned. They want to have that sense of slavery to them, I guess. Like, and when they attack, you pull out your Pokedex and it says, "A Clefairy is here. Pikachu, use Thundershock. Clefairy, use this thing." And is that display the Pokedex? That's what my thinking was.
Oh, I've never thought of it like that.
Right, because that would make sense, because that's why it always tells you the health, and it might be, in theory, the game is just, the Pokedex maybe a little bit stronger, and it can actually give you all those vitals. Maybe it gives you all those vitals, but Ash just doesn't choose to use it. And that's how you know your Pokemon's health, right?
That's fair.
So, that was kind of I was like, oh, that's interesting. So basically...
Yeah, I've never thought of it like that.
So Ash fails at catching the Pidgey, ends up attacking a Spearow. He hurts the Spearow, or Pikachu Thundershocks the Spearow. Spearow starts calling for help. Why doesn't Ash catch the Spearow? Probably because he's like a bad Pokemon, quote unquote.
Yeah. Well, because we can get into it until like a little bit later about the sparrows, but they're kind of dicks.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
then the horde of Spearows comes after. They're being dicks. They come after Ash and Pikachu. They jump into the lake, or into a creek. The creek takes them into a lake where they see a Gyarados. Misty catches them. He says, "Oh, these guys are chasing me. I gotta run. Bye." Jumps on her bike and crashes. While Pikachu is hurt from... Pikachu got attacked by the Spearows originally, so he's like not doing well, so Ash is trying to get him to the Pokemon Center. He kind of stands up and says, "No, don't hurt my Pikachu." And Pikachu's like, "Wow, what a brave guy. I'll be your friend." And thunder shocks all the Spearows, and they fly away.
Is it not raining during this point?
Yeah, there was like a storm, because they crashed. I don't...
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, not much happened. Basically, they try and catch a Spearow.
Shitty.
He's not a good trainer. Pikachu gets hurt. They run away, and then that's it. That was the episode.
Yeah.
So, at the end, the storm clears. They're like, "Oh, Pikachu, we made it. Hooray." They look up into the skies, and there's a legendary bird flying by. This big, magical, rainbowy bird. He points Dexter at it, which is the Pokedex name, by the way. Aims it at it, and it says, "What is that? Unknown data on this Pokemon." So that was Ho-Oh, right?
Yeah, it's totally Ho-Oh.
So that's kind of neat that they had one of the Pokemon in the next generation already thought of in the first generation, right? So,
well, I believe they had something like 186, but they trimmed it down to 51.
Okay.
And Ho-Oh was one of those Pokemon. I think a couple more of the legendaries were like a couple of those Pokemon that they cut out because they're like, these are really good designs. We should save these for later. I think that's what happened.
Okay, I can see that. That makes sense.
Yeah, or it was like a sizing constraint because it was their very first like fucking cartridge game.
Oh, I see.
Maybe it wasn't their first cartridge game. It doesn't matter, but
so I'll go into those details when I play Pokemon Yellow probably next. This is just kind of I want to talk about some Pokemon TV shows, you know.
That's fair.
Fill some airtime.
Yeah. So if you're going to give a rating of or if you're going to give recommendation for episode 1 or starting the show, would you give it?
So did I like it? It was a good introduction to the show. It left a lot of intrigue. What was the show going to be? That was kind of my takeaway from watching this episode and knowing what the show later becomes. It was very pure, and it was very adventure. It was a boy and his Pokemon hanging out, getting into trouble, stealing people's bikes, and I think it was okay.
Yeah, yeah, it's a kid's show and it's not as good as Avatar, but I'd rank it just kind of like under Avatar. Like, okay. Avatar is like very like adult and attaches like actually like stuff like murder and all that kind of stuff very well. Whereas Pokemon is just like, we're a kid show just for kids, you guys.
I would give this episode like a 3 out of 5.
Yeah. I guess I'm more on the positive. I give it a 4 out of 5.
Okay, yeah, no, that's 4. Like maybe like 3.5, 4. That's totally fine. Yeah. Like this, I would say, is a good episode of the show. Quickly,
there's some good ones out there.
Quickly, do you know about the coma theory and the red theory? So the coma theory states that Ash is in the world of the game. He's playing along. He gets attacked by when the Spearows are about to attack Pikachu. Pikachu thundershocks them. He actually ends up in a coma. He wakes up and he sees the Ho-Oh, and that's the first inclination that he's not mentally stable. That's why from the show, Pokemon start becoming weirder and weirder and weirder. He starts going on more of these adventures. It's always focused on him because he's actually in a coma in a hospital, and that's kind of where the show comes from. So that's for a while. His friend Brock comes and talks to him. His friend Misty's there for a while, but then like Brock leaves. Brock just went home, but in his mind, like, Brock's left him. He'll never be there again. So the theory, one of the theories is the whole show is just Ash's coma. And the red theory. So there was a boy from Pallet Town named Red. He went on to beat all 8 gym leaders, become beat the Elite Four, beat his rival Gary or Blue, beat Blue, go on to keep training and be the most powerful trainer in the world. Now, on his journey, however, he died, but his soul could not rest until he was beaten. In Silver, or he went to Mount Silver when a boy named Silver came along, found him standing at the top of the mountain and challenged him to a battle. There you see he has a level 80 Pikachu with him, and when you finally beat the red in that game, he kind of just goes ... doesn't say anything, disappears. The theory is that was the original kid. That was Red. What happens to his Pokemon, they basically escape. Pikachu heads back home to Pallet Town because that's where he was from. Professor Oak finds him and gives him to Ash. That's why Pikachu is so overly powered, because he's already been on an adventure, he's already seen these things, and that explains why he's such a powerful Pokemon.
Someone put a lot of time into that.
Yeah, I like theories like that. Okay, so then basically our point after we looked at the pilot, kind of an introduction to this series, was we each chose 2 episodes to kind of briefly talk about, and we're just going to tell each other a little bit of the stories and what we liked about them. With these, which episode numbers did you do? Because let's try and be as chronological as possible. I have episode 7.
I actually have 11 and 12.
Okay, so I'll go, you can go 2, and then I'll finish up, and then we'll move on.
Okay, cool.
Episode 7, The Water Flower of Cerulean City. It recaps Ash's gym battle with Brock. It kind of does this weird thing where Gary is Ash's rival recap. Shows the gang walking along. Misty is hesitant to go into the Cerulean City for some reason. Then it goes to my favorite characters in the show, the Rockets, as they're breaking into a machine shop. Outside of the shop the next morning, Officer Jenny accuses Brock and Ash of being the thieves. Dexter is the proof that Ash is just a trainer. Apparently that's your ID, is your Pokedex. I assumed it was a card, but apparently it's the actual little machine. Brock shows off his badge. She's like, okay, that's fine. Brock won't give up the secrets of the gym because as a gym leader, he kind of knows about some of the other gyms and like what type of Pokemon they use. Then there's this weird line where he says, "All right, Ash, well, good luck at the gym. I gotta go do some stuff." What kind of stuff, Brock? Just stuff, and leaves for the rest of the episode. I don't understand what that was. Like, he did hit on Officer Jenny for the first time in this episode, so maybe he was gonna go hit on her, maybe trying to get a date, maybe, I don't know, it's a mystery. I looked online. No one knew the answer, so kind of bugged me.
Yeah.
Ash.
What's there to do in Cerulean City?
I don't know. Bike shop, maybe? Maybe he was going... there was like a Pokemon... In the Pokemon Yellow, there was a Pokemon breeder's house there, so maybe he went to go check that out or something.
Fair enough.
Ash goes to the gym. He sees the 3 trainers. They're synchronized swimming. The gym is also an aquarium, and he literally asks himself, with the pool in the aquarium, wonder what kind of Pokemon they use here. I'm like, God damn you, Ash, you're so stupid. The girls report to Ash that they were beaten consecutively 3 times in a row from trainers from Pallet Town, and they only have a Goldeen left. So, here, you can just have the badge, because we don't want to lose again. Hey, Seal, do you want to bring us a badge? A seal comes out of the pond with the Cascade badge in his mouth, and I was like, well, you got a fucking seal. You actually have 2 Pokemon. Just battle him. Like, it's dumb. It's stupid.
They're not the smartest girls.
No. And then Misty comes and interjects, and the big reveal why she was so hesitant to come is she's the 4th sister.
Ooh, shocker.
Yep. There's a pretty simple battle. Literally not much happens. It's Staryu versus Butterfree. Ash uses Dexter to tell him what Staryu is. And then afterwards, when she pulls out Starmie, again, he uses the Pokedex to look up Starmie. So apparently, in all the time they're adventuring together, they're never like, hey, can I see what your Pokemon look like? It's just a mystery. Like, the whole time Misty's like, no, I'm not going to show you. That's so, like, why? What are they talking about
stupid.
For weeks on end?
Like, and every time that you watch them, like, in the show, walking with each other, 90% of the time they're talking Pokemon.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, and they've never met, like, a random person. Misty's like, well, I'll battle now, or I'm going to let my Pokemon out for a bit. It's just...
Every time they see a shadow, they're literally like, I wonder what Pokemon that is. And you're like,
yeah,
shadow.
Ash literally, after seeing that Pidgey in that first episode, he forgets everything. Like, I don't think he properly identifies a Pokemon once. And then, of course, the battle ends in a mute point because my favorite guys, Team Rocket, break into the gym and they try and suck up all the water. Because if they take all the water with this giant vacuum, they can steal the Pokemon. There's no logic to that. Pikachu thunderbolts them, they fly away, and the girls, the sisters come and say, here, take the badge, we know you didn't win, but if you would have just used Pikachu from the beginning, you would have won. Oh shit, I forgot that part. So this is the reason I picked this episode. So not only was it a gym battle, but it also highlighted one of the aspects of the show, friendship. So Misty goes to challenge Ash. Ash uses Butterfree and Pidgeotto because Pikachu refuses to fight Misty because they're friends. And that is the point of the show. It's Pokemons are friends. Friendship is going to overcome everything. That is how you win in life, is being a good friend. And Pikachu, I mean, it's logical, right? He would have won the battle for Ash easily, no contest. But he decided not to battle because Misty's his friend. And I thought that was a very genuine moment and a really good explanation as to why Ash just doesn't walk all over the girls in the pool.
And I think that's one thing that I kind of like about this show is the characters in the show will like be like, no, that's they'll take a moral stand, and they'll take a good moral stand. Like, you know what? No. If you're just going to battle just for a silly gym badge, I'm not going to do that. You can't force me to fight my friend. You're like, huh. And I actually, in my one of my episodes that I chose, goes actually really lots into that. So
okay, yeah, get right into it. So that was kind of my wrap up. It was probably if you eliminated those rockets from the storyline, it might have been maybe a 4.5. Let's say it's another 4. I say it's probably comparable to the pilot. It was still a good episode. Let's go to episode 12.
Cool. 11.
11. No, let's go right to 12. We'll go backwards.
Charmander, the stray Pokemon. Essentially the one where they come across Charmander. Which the reason why I chose this one, because he is my favorite Pokemon. He's the one that I always choose whenever I go first. But unless it's for a specific purpose, I'll choose another one. But essentially, they're walking along the road and they come across a big shadow, and them, Brock, Misty, and Ash being them, they see a shadow, and obviously that's a massive Pokemon. Then Sun changes and they can actually get a good look at it, and they just see it's a Charmander. And he's just sitting there, so obviously Ash, being the genius, just goes and throws a Pokeball just to go catch the darn thing. And it just flicks its tail back at him. Then Brock's like, that's weird, throw it again. Ash throws it again, knocks it back to him. It's like, this must be somebody else's Pokemon. Because obviously it's healthy enough to kick this Pokeball back and not be captured. So then Brock's like, man, look at the tail, it's kind of faded. So they're like, okay, whatever. It's obviously somebody else is just probably waiting for him. So they send over Pikachu to go interpret, and Pikachu walks back and starts talking to Ash. And they kind of understand what the other one's trying to get across. And they're basically like, it's just waiting for somebody. Apparently he's coming back. So they wander off looking for the Pokemon Center, because that's the thing that they're always looking for. So they get to go to the Pokemon Center, and they see it, and it starts raining. So they head inside. They're sitting around, eating some soup, being warm, and Brock's thinking about it. He looks out the window, and they're like, what's up? And he's like, well, I've been thinking with that Charmander. I wonder if somebody went back and got him. He has that, if the flame on his tail goes out, he dies.
That's morbid, by the way.
Right? And that's one of the few times they will straight up be like, no, that Pokemon will die if that happens. They don't mention that very often, but Charmander is one of those Pokemon. They overhear some douchebag basically bragging about how he used to have more Pokemon, but he left this Charmander out on some rock in the middle of the woods because it's stupid and weak and couldn't beat anything. Brock literally gets up and just walks over there as soon as he hears this, and he's like, you go get him back. And then obviously Ash and Misty are got his back, dog. Or all three of them kind of go over and see this guy and his group of friends, and they straight up take a moral stand, no, look, you go back and you get that effing Pokemon, that's your friend, don't just treat them like that, he's waiting for you. And he's like, no, why would I? It can't make me. And they're about to throw down, and Nurse Joy comes over and breaks them up, and then Ash and all of them take off down the road to go get this Charmander, to see if it's still there. And they get there, and it's holding just a little green leaf. It's so adorable.
I was gonna say this is actually breaking my heart. This story, I hate
Yeah,
it.
like this is the episode I chose. I'm like, it's gonna be a like fun little episode. I remember Charmander being awesome. No, it's depressing as shit.
Yeah, it's about like abandoning loved ones.
Yeah, absolutely, and just not giving a fuck and showing kids that there's people out there that will just treat you like shit or will just abandon you, and you're like, oh man. Especially it's a cute little Charmander.
Oh, yeah, and his poor little tail. Oh, it's...
Yeah, it's the best.
Well, tell me the good news. What happens?
Basically, they run out, they grab him, and of course, they get him back to the hospital in the nick of time. And, heal him, and they go back in the morning, and Brock's obviously the first one to notice, before even Nurse Joy, that he's gone. Like, the window's open, and the Charmander's gone, and you just see, like, this little Charmander just, like, derpily walking down the road. Because the animation sometimes in this show is just very derpy.
Well, I feel like Charmander, I feel like all the basic starters are kind of derps to begin with, so.
Anyways, you see him, get about halfway and then, turn around and think. And then, obviously, Ash, Brock, and Misty are walking down the road, and who else is going to show up that hasn't shown up this entire episode? Team Rocket.
Goddamn them.
Of course. And this time they built say it with me now, a trap. And they fell into a hole, of course.
Like they dug a hole?
Yeah, they literally dug a hole, put sticks and branches on it, like they always do.
Huh.
They even address it in the show. They're like, another hole? It's like, yeah, this time it's going to work.
Yeah, my second episode has a good one of those where it's really, this is just, the characters are so unimpressed by the Rockets. Just not because they're doing bad stuff, but they're like, you guys, you're being stupid. You do dumb stuff, So.
Yeah, they're really shitty at their job. So basically, except for this one time, everything's working out. So they basically, Brock, Misty, and Ash all fall in the hole, knocked out. Pikachu's left standing, and they're all standing in rubber suits. And Pikachu, shocks them. It's like, fuck, this isn't going to work, takes off. And they actually, shoot a cannon that has, a little, rubber balloon that captures them. It's like, wow, they were useful. And then Charmander shows up, of course, lights them all on fire, and then he doesn't ignite them and blast them off, but just sets them on fire, and they take off running down the road while yelling they're blasting off again.
Oh, those Rockets.
They're terrible.
Yeah.
So basically they have their whole oh, you want to join us now? And Damien, the owner of Charmander, was like, oh, I was looking for you all over. Don't listen to them. They're a bunch of liars. And basically tries to bring him back to his side. And Charmander just straight up no, I'm good. I'm gonna stick with these guys. And be like, wow, this Pokemon went from a stubborn piece of shit to actually enjoying it, or making it a good call. Be like, no, these people are actually gonna treat me right. So
that's the fact that he started off being very stubborn. That was very interesting, because knowing where that character goes and how that Pokemon grows up,
and considering that the entire storyline, Charmander's just kind of he's stubborn, and when he becomes Charmeleon doesn't listen to him.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to Charizard, he only starts at the very, very, very end to really start to listen to him.
Well, he has to respect, but even almost from the beginning, he was still kind of a pain in the butt, and he was very stubborn, right? So
yeah. But my theory on that one is that he's kind of a second owner. He's not really he didn't officially capture him.
Oh yeah.
He doesn't have that strong enough bond. Maybe it they just get linked in a certain way.
Well, no, but it's in the game, right? Sometimes if I traded you a bunch of Pokemon, there's a chance that they don't respond, because there is something in the ID that if the ID of the Pokemon and the trainer don't match up 100%, they don't mesh as well.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and then that's basically episode 11. Oh, and of course, I was going to go into it earlier with this episode when it was raining. There's a bunch of sparrows staring at him. So you're as soon as he dies, you motherfuckers are going to run over there and go eat him.
No, so they're kind of like the vultures of the world.
Yeah, exactly. So they're the bad guys. We can't have them running around with our heroes.
That's fair. Nice. Yeah. All right. And what about the...
episode number 12. Here comes the Squirtle Squad. This is where they run across the Squirtle for the very first time. To be honest, this one's not the greatest episode. I've always liked it as a kid, and it just has a little bit of a nostalgic factor for me. So Ash and the gang are walking down the road, fall into a hole, of course.
Huh. Weird.
It's like
Weird.
every episode they literally cannot fall in the hole.
Yeah,
there should be a bingo with it.
You know, they're very creative in this show. It's not like they just threw out this crappy product to just try and get money from stupid kids or anything like that with this mediocre product. Weird.
Absolutely. But this time it wasn't Team Rocket. It was actually the Squirtle Squad.
Oh.
So essentially, Ash's Squirtle is the leader of kind of a gang of Squirtles that are kind of outlaws, and they play pranks on everybody, and they like to squirt everybody with massive hydro pumps. Basically, it's like getting a fire hydrant just unleashed on your face.
Yeah, I get.
So,
yeah.
Essentially, they climb out and decide to battle them. When Officer Jenny shows up, all the Squirrels take off. Team Rocket is chilling, and the Squirrel Squad shows up again. So he traps them in a tree, eats all their food or whatever, because, that's what gangsters do. They roll up and trap you, eat all your food, don't harm you at all. Meowth is actually, talking to them, and kind of gets to know them. Finds out that those Squirtles just don't kind of really, respect people. They're all kind of castaways from trainers. So they just don't, like them. So they just instinctually will, they trust Meowth as what he says. So he's like, oh yeah, these guys, they're just my pets, you can trust us. It's like, oh, okay, so they, let them go. Meowth's in charge, kind of them, and convinces the Squirtles to help capture Ash, Misty, and Brock, because they're all just, chilling on a bank. They spray all of them with, water, I think, until they, float down the river. Well, obviously, Pikachu's in the water, and he's electric, so they, get him out with, Misty's, Goldeen. And then they have to, I think they have to rush him they have to get him to, the hospital or get him a super potion.
Okay.
And then Meowth or, Jesse and James are just kind of, waiting around while Meowth's kind of, coordinating the squirrels to try to capture everybody. Pikachu's still sick, so Ash takes off to go get it. To be honest, I watched this, when you said to watch it.
Okay.
So I honestly don't really remember that much.
Okay.
I feel like the Squirrel Squad captures Misty, Ash, and Brock. Meowth trying to con them into just letting them take their Pikachu, because their Pikachu's kind of wounded in a cage. And
okay.
Ash, Misty, and Brock are trying to tell them, trying to convince them no, he's lying to you. He's hurt. We need to get him medicine. But the Pokemon are kind of at conflict, because they're well, this human's trying to say that he wants to help this Pokemon, and this guy's saying that to give him to him. So they kind of end up just not really seeing eye to eye. So of course Jesse and James show up in their big old Meowth blimp and decide to bomb everybody, and they end up lighting the kind of forest on fire with all their bombs. Who knew that Team Rocket was actually competent in the early seasons? I just remember them being absolutely useless.
Yeah, they're still pretty useless even when they're competent.
That's true. They never really get anything done.
No.
So they bomb the shit out of them, causing a bunch of craters.
Okay.
And the Squirtle Squad all teams up and blasts off them in their hot air balloon, as they always do, say their catchphrase.
Yep.
They have to, I think Officer Jenny shows up, and it's basically everything's on, the forest is on fire. We need to do something. So the Squirrel Squad kicks into action, sprays out all the fires. As they're kind of everything's all done, Officer Jenny's wow, great job, you guys. Yeah, you were pranksters, but it seems that you guys learned your lesson. They said, as they're walking away, the leader of the Squirrel Squad, runs up to him, and I think he, throws the sunglasses back to one of the other Squirrel Squad, and they, take off, and that's basically how Squirtle joins them. Not as sad and depressing as Charmander's, but...
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, that episode doesn't sound like it's very interesting.
Yeah, it's not the greatest. Well, I watched a handful of them, and there was the, final test near the end of the season, and they're just not that good.
Yeah, no.
So.
Well, I have a theory. We'll get to why I don't think they're very good. Yes. Yeah, it's interesting though that I remember them as firefighters. So I kind of forgot that the group started off as troublemakers, and then that's actually kind of an interesting twist, right? Because you'd think Squirtle and Bulbasaur would be kind of a pain in the ass, but really, none of Ash's Pokemons have any personalities. There's Pikachu and there's Charizard, but everyone else is just kind of oh, that water type Pokemon, you know?
Yeah.
So
basically.
he doesn't really have the...
Or like Bulbasaur, he tries really hard.
Yeah, but like they're just generic things that follow him around, right? Like they don't really have the characters in the show. So I wonder if they stuck with that. Like I wonder at what point, like the next episode, if you watched it, if Squirtle is just like, oh yeah, I'm just the water Pokemon, or not, right?
Yeah. Or if you would have even like a bit of his like kind of bad attitude or like pranky nature.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, getting into episode 21, Abra and the Psychic Showdown. Now I kind of cheated because I did like a whole story arc, so I'll briefly touch on episodes 22 and 23 after this. Well, let's get through 21 first. Starts off with Sabrina sitting in a chair with a scary fucking doll. She sees the group walking through the woods and she says, their time has almost come. And I was like, nope, I'm done. Like, I almost just stopped watching the episode at that point. The group seems to get lost a lot as they walk through the woods. They kind of say, we're lost. We don't know where we're going. I don't know. Maybe they should invest in a map or something like that. Or
they have one. They just really suck at reading it.
I suppose. So then, of course, they see the scary doll standing in the little woods, and they say, do you guys want to be my friends? And I was like, why? Why is this in a child's show? This is horrifying. Ash, what do you do when you see a scary girl in the woods? Chase after it. He almost falls off a cliff, but he is saved by Bulbasaur. And, of course, what's on the other side of the cliff? The beautiful and great Saffron City. So they made it. Hooray. They enter the city, and as they enter it, these two girls come up in hula skirts, and they say, hey, you guys are the grand prize winners. Ash goes, why? What do you mean? That seems suspicious. Why are you doing this? Well, you see, you're the 1 millionth and 1 millionth and 2, and 1 millionth and 3rd visitors to the city. Wow, that's great! Oh, of course we won this. This is awesome. So they go from being suspicious and not trusting these creeps to saying like, oh, of course, what a great prize. That makes total sense. Such morons. Guess what? The two people that were dressed up in hula skirts were actually rockets. They pushed the gang onto a warp tile, steal Pikachu. They're in a different room, and they say, a warp tile? Well, how does that work? It warps you to a different room. Oh no, that's terrible. They start doing their little, it's time for trouble, and make it double. And this one, I'm like, why the fuck do they have a catchphrase? You know, like, it seems so stupid. They pan back to the gang, and they're sitting at a table eating rice balls and drinking tea and, like, not paying attention to the rockets whatsoever. And I was like, thank God they acknowledged that. And they kind of do, like, that anime thing where the rockets fall over and like, oh, why aren't you paying attention to us?
Yeah.
At this point, Meowth all of a sudden says, hey guys, who's the little kid? They turn around, the little creepy girl with her ball is standing in the room, and I was like, fuck that. She freezes the rockets, takes Pikachu, warps them and the gang to outside of the gym, and they say, oh, well, I'm glad that's over with. What's over with? You got captured by the bad guys, you didn't escape, and how did you get here? They don't question it. They say, oh, well, we have to fight Sabrina. A random jogging dude kind of appears behind them and starts giving them exposition. This is a psychic gym, and you have to be very careful, and you shouldn't fight Sabrina. She's not like the rest of the trainers you've met before. And then just jogs away. I was like, I'm going to make note of that guy. Like, that's so weird that's the other guy they meet in this town. That's
ominous.
This gym is apparently a mental institute, so people are trying to hone their telekinetic powers to bend spoons. This kind of leader guy of the group with his red hair comes up and is talking down to the group. He does tell us, though, that you need telekinetic powers to control psychic-type Pokemon. Telekinetic, or telekinesis, means moving things with your mind. That's not the ability to control people. Like, they definitely are using the wrong terms. They're just using telekinetic as, like, this general sense of, I can control you. You can control me, but you move me with your mind. Like, it's not like we're, like,
it's
telepathic.
Just saying, like, psychic powers,
telepathy.
Which kind of,
If I'm telepathic, I can talk to you with your brain. So are psychic Pokemon like these weird shells of people, and you have to use the telekinetic powers to, like, make them move or something? I don't know. Like, so that's kind of, I was like, I think they're just using the wrong words. I don't think the writers of the show are very good. That's entry number 1 into my evidence that the writers of this show are not very good. They go to fight Sabrina. Abra, during the fight, evolves into Kadabra, fights Pikachu. Pikachu can't hit Kadabra because of the teleportation. Once he becomes Kadabra, Kadabra uses Psychic, which basically just takes Pikachu and he's like slapping himself and being thrown into the ceiling and thrown back into the ground. And apparently that's what Psychic is you just throw the Pokemon around the room. That's terrifying. So they lose the battle, and
Ragdoll them.
Yeah, as such, the little creepy doll made a rule that if you lose it, you have to be my friends. So they said, well, I guess we'll be your friends. She then teleports them to this little town. Inside the town, they go to sit down, and there's this nice little meal, and I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Like, this is, like, kind of unsettling. I think I just don't like little dolls and, like, little girls that go, la, 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 in the woods. Like, that's one of those things I'm always be like, that's weird. Ash goes in to go to the bathroom, and he sees a woman sitting in the bathtub, so he does kind of that, oh, I'm so sorry, I apologize, I don't mean to see this. And then Pikachu, the little pervert he is, goes in and, like, pokes her. She's this little plastic doll, because they're in a dollhouse. The scary little doll steps down onto the streets, and she's, like, 12 times their size, and starts chasing them the length of the street in this dollhouse. Throws her ball at them. The jogging guy teleports in and says, everybody, link your minds with mine, I will save you, and teleports them out. That's how they got out of that situation. Good job, team.
God, they all knew how to link their minds with, with that
that's what
guy.
I was thinking. Like, if someone said
Just
that, like,
drop of the hat.
link your minds with mine, he would teleport, I'd still be standing there. I was like, no, fuck off. That's...
Like, do we have to think about the same thing? Because are you thinking about how the hell do you fucking link your minds to?
That must be. Maybe he's like, if we're all confused, that's good, because I'm also confused. The jogging man uses his psychic powers to force Ash's pants off, and everyone's like, oh no, that's terrible. And Misty's like, oh, I can't look, that's so gross. And I was like, I feel like a show where an old man forces a young boy's pants off, like, shouldn't be a child's show, you know? Like,
yeah.
I guess it's funny, but I feel like it's kind of like low-browish humor. The old man tells him that the only way to beat the psychic powers is to get a ghost-type Pokemon, and that's the episode. So, where does episode 22 take us? The Tower of Terror. Really quickly, they go to Lavender Town, they find the ghost tower, the Rockets are inside, they get scared by the ghosts, they start making scary sounds, so Ash and the gang go in after them. Charmander comes out to provide them with light, they see Ghastly, they get scared, they run outside. Pikachu, Ash, and Charmander decide, hey, you know what? We're not scared anymore. They go back inside. In the meantime, Ghastly goes and finds Haunter and Gengar, who are watching TV upstairs, and it's like very like slapsticky kind of a show that they're watching. They go down to scare the gang. I think Charmander gets it. So Haunter keeps making like funny faces at him. Charmander makes a funny face back, and Ash tells him he's an idiot, puts him back in his Pokeball, and tells Pikachu to Thundershock him. Pikachu goes to warm up his Thunderbolt. Gengar shows up, and he does something stupid with his face as well, and all of a sudden Ash just turns on a dime, and all of a sudden he's like, I don't like your guys' slapstick routine, it's stupid. They do this weird anime thing where they're laying in a spotlight with snow coming down on them, because they feel shame, you know?
Yeah.
They're like, well fine, we'll leave. So as the ghosts start floating through the floor, a chandelier crushes and kills Ash and Pikachu. The ghosts come up and say, oh fuck, pull their spirits out of their body. They fly around the town, and they're like, oh, guess we're fun. We'll come with you. That was the episode. And you're like, oh, Mick, but you missed so much. Nope, that was the episode.
Yeah.
That was the episode.
When I watched that as a kid, I was like, did he just die?
Yep, he dies. They fly around. Then he says, but I have to go fight this psychic Pokemon in this other town. And Haunter says, yeah, I'll come with you. Well, it doesn't say it, but it kind of mimics. I'll come with you. They return to their bodies, get up, and leave. In episode 23, Haunter versus Kadabra. This is a really thrilling one. I'm actually going to cut out a big chunk of the middle part because it's fucking stupid. They walk to the gym and they say, hey Haunter, are you ready to fight Sabrina? Let's go. Ash takes out Squirtle, Charmander, Bulbasaur, and Pikachu, and they all go inside. They walk up to Sabrina and say, hey Sabrina, we should battle. Haunter disappears. Haunter's nowhere to be found. So they run away. 15 minutes later, they're back at the gym. And they say, hey, Haunter, you've decided to be my friend again. We're really going to fight Sabrina. Haunter disappears again. So now the little girl says, well, Ash, because you lost and you don't have a Pokemon, you're going to have to be turned into a doll. Pikachu steps in and says, no, you can't hurt my friend. So he goes to battle Kadabra, who he obviously can't beat in the show. And Haunter then goes and starts making funny faces at Sabrina. Sabrina laughs, so Kadabra laughs because they're mentally linked. and Jogging Guy shows up and says, well, I guess if Kadabra's laughing, he can no longer battle. Ash wins. That was 12 minutes of the show is Team Rocket does this stupid thing on the skyscraper where they start doing their little routine. Haunter shows up, scares them. They fall off into this. They actually fall through the cement and like cause these giant holes, so they're dead. And yeah, at some point they learn about so they learn that the Jogging Man was Sabrina's father. As a child, she was really obsessed with her psychic training, so she lost her childhood, and the child, or the little doll, is actually Sabrina as a child, and it's like her embodiment, the embodiment of her childhood, whereas the Sabrina nowadays is very stern and like doesn't know how to have fun, so Haunter teaches her how to have fun. Stupid, right?
Yeah.
And you know what? It literally is just filler. So this whole show, like, why did they have all that stuff in the middle? Like, could they have not created the storyline a little better? No, because literally the show was, let's make a bunch of episodes so we can throw them at these kids so we can get money from advertisers because kids are going to watch it because kids are stupid because it's Pokemon and we don't have to put any thought, any power, use any insight, like, be creative as writers, and people will still watch the show because kids are fucking stupid. The rockets, I was thinking, like, I timed it. It takes almost a minute. It takes almost a minute for them to say their stupid little catchphrase because you know why they do that in every episode? Because that's a minute of material the writers don't have to write.
Yeah.
The laziness of this show, it just wrecks it, and it's not a legitimate show. Like, going back and watching this, I'll be honest with you, I'm not interested to watch this show. Episode 21, like, I would give like a 3 out of 5, but like 22 and 23 were fucking garbage. I would never go back and watch this show as a child because I was turned by how poor some of these like later episodes were. They're just filler. There's no substance. They don't follow the game at all. They started off following the game, but you know what? The game ends. So if they make it these stupid little storylines about the Haunter and these ghost Pokemon and they're all friends and they're having fun, they can extend it, right? And it's just, it's a cash grab, it's lazy writing, and I'm not proud to admit I watched this as a child. I'm not going to go back and watch it, whereas a show that deals with actual topics that challenges you to think, some of those shows are still critically acclaimed. Dragon Ball Z, maybe not so critically acclaimed. There are still slow like pauses where they like charge up for an episode. Like, that's a big trope in that show. But you look at Pixar and like Finding Nemo, it deals with like very mature subject matter. It's about child abduction, right? That's a very serious topic. So adults can watch that and look at that and say, huh, that's kind of cool. But kids like it too because it's fun and colorful. Look at Up. Watch the beginning of Up and tell me you don't cry. That's a really intense for like a little kid to sit there. Like, kids don't get that. They think it's a cartoon, they watch it. But then you look at Pokemon, and Pokemon literally is just like the bare minimum to write a show. I hate it. I hate this show. I hate this. I hate the fact that you just suggested we watch this.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I think it was actually my suggestion. But so that's kind of my takeaway from the overall of the show is just, I don't know, it's kind of silly. So do you want to get away from unless you have like final thoughts on the TV series?
Starts good, has decent moments, not worth there's better shit out there. Like, there really is.
All right.
Like, unless you're a hardcore Pokemon fan, I say skip it.
All right. Agreed. So let's move on to our next topic. Self-imposed video game challenges. So the one I'd say I'm most familiar with is the 3 heart run in Zelda. So the way this one works is you're not allowed to collect any heart containers, any heart pieces. So heart containers after you beat a boss or heart pieces throughout the world. You're also not allowed to die at all. So you have to be very thoughtful, methodical. You have to have very high skilled. I've actually done this challenge once in the Ocarina of Time, and I'm pretty sure I'll maybe try that again on like the playthrough for this show.
Yeah, I really don't have off the top of my head any that jump to me, minus really one-off stuff like doing a WoW raid by yourself, like a really high-end WoW raid all by yourself.
So I have a couple other examples we can run through. Crime-free Grand Theft Auto, so just trying to follow like traffic lights, trying to do missions where you're actually just following like the normal flow of traffic. You're not allowed to like go over curbs, you must be able to kill people in like rides, but basically you have to not drive like an asshole. It definitely makes the game more difficult because it's just very slow paced, and also that world's not, the traffic doesn't make sense. Like, you ever tried to follow the traffic?
No.
You can't do it because the lights don't work like lights should. Like
See, and that's what I thought when people are like, "Oh, I've heard of the drive according to the rules in GTA," and you're like, did the programmers actually spend the time to make it work?
No, I think it's just simple. Like it's probably 15 seconds of green, then 1 second of yellow, then 15 seconds of red, and it just repeats. But that's not how traffic lights work. Like, traffic lights understand that there's flows in traffic, and if you're trying to turn, it will prompt you. So it's just very counterintuitive in that sense. For Fallout, never spend caps. You always have to barter for items. So you're allowed to pick up material, you're allowed to trade it for caps, but you're never allowed to obtain something, so you're never allowed to buy, Simpacks or, ammo and make or lose money. So you always have to, every time you go to barter with someone, you either have to leave with the exact same amount of money or a little bit more money than when you initially came into it. I think that would just make it, more of a minimalist run.
Yeah.
I wonder with, I guess because it's not self-imposed, but almost with Fallout, if you ever played survival mode, you have to eat food and you have to drink water, and if you get irradiated, you will die. More than likely you're going to die in that game. It's not about playing the story at that point, it's just trying to survive in this system.
Yeah.
So I guess that's a little bit of a self-imposed. Never spend gil in Final Fantasy. Any of them. So you never use any inns, you never buy any items, you never use any shops, you just use the items that are given to you. I kind of want to try that for Final Fantasy VII.
That sounds like, I guess you can pick up things, but for armor or materia, can you literally pick up one of every materia?
I think so, but you'd only ever be able to get one, I think, right? That'd be you'd be a lot weaker.
Unless you mastered it.
Yeah, unless you mastered it, right? But it'd be again, I kind of want to try it on Final Fantasy VII, so just to see what it would do to the gameplay. I think it would just make it more difficult. And then finally, the one, I guess the second one I'm most familiar with is the Nuzlocke challenge in Pokemon. What is the Nuzlocke challenge?
The Nuzlocke challenge is basically once a Pokemon faints, it's considered dead. You have to go to your PC and release it.
Very strict. I like it.
Yeah. The player may only catch the first Pokemon they encounter in each area.
Okay.
A blackout/whiteout is considered a game over. So if you wipe all your characters, they're dead. And then you can reset the game, but you may...
I think you can't reset the game.
Yeah, you can't reset the game.
So
but
we did a Nuzlocke, me and Tyson, and I kind of didn't do that part, so yikes.
Yeah, neither did I. I'll be honest with you, because there's times where I just lost my starter. I really can't lose him. He's my only water Pokemon. I'm in the middle of a fucking cave. Okay, well, I'll just turn it off and restart, because there's no save state.
Yes. Yeah, so
there was one other rule that I imposed that's totally not official kind of Nuzlocke rules, and that's that you're supposed to name all your Pokemon.
Oh yeah, you actually, that is part of the Nuzlocke. You're supposed to give a nickname to all of them because it helps you grow more attached to them. And when you lose them and they die, it's supposed to break your heart more. So that
seems fair.
That's nice. That's nice that they would do that.
Yeah, of course. Only gamers.
So my experience with it wasn't too hard. It also helps that I have a pretty good knowledge base. I can play the game and I know most of it off the top of my head. It does require a lot of grinding. I think at Mount Moon, I tried to get my starter and my Magikarp up to level 20, so I tried to have a Gyarados in Mount Moon. So that was a very slow process. Misty was pretty easy. The Gary fight right before the Nugget Bridge was really difficult. I really struggled with that one. I think I might have reset once or twice. But once I beat him, it was actually, I don't think I struggled the rest of the game. So that was kind of, once I got past that point, but I think I spent 6 hours to get to that point. And that's maybe an hour into the game. So it's kind of unfortunate. You also, let's see, what other notes do I have? You have to utilize the Pokemon that are given to you, and you can buy some. Yeah, and if you do end up losing, let's say, a shitty Pokemon, trust me, you have tons of Pidgeys and Rattatas to replace that Pidgey and Rattata that just died. Yeah, a big part of this game too, I think, is luck playing this through. So when I got to Diglett Cave, the very first Pokemon I met was a level 29 Dugtrio. I was able to capture him. At this point, my other Pokemon were maybe like level 25, so he's already over-leveled for my team. Surge was a joke. I didn't have to worry about him at all, and he actually became a permanent member of my team. So I mean, that was really helpful. Now, he's the rarer of the Pokemon that you can fight in that area. So again, what is that? That's luck.
Just a side note, Dig in Gen 1 is super overpowered.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That one, Earthquake, super powerful moves. If you have a ground type, rock type. I think I even actually, on my playthrough for Yellow, I have a Charizard with Earthquake, and it like just crushes. It's great.
Yeah.
I did struggle a little bit in this game because my team that I wanted, there was a couple Pokemon you get later in the game that you have to like get to an island, or you have to talk to a certain character and do a little side quest to obtain, and I wanted them on my team. So I went out of my way to try and like be the gym leader early on to get to an island before I probably should have in the story, so that I had a Pokemon so I didn't have to waste a lot of time grinding them later. They could kind of grow naturally with the rest of my team. So that would be probably one of the harder parts of the team. So had I just played it normally and not had my end team kind of like tried to mold it so my end team was established early on, it probably would have been not as hard.
That's half the fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Choosing the team.
Absolutely.
Because you kind of got to accomplish different things. You have to have a team that kind of carries you through. A team that's going to serve all your... If you're like me and you hate subbing shit out, gotta have people that have your HM moves, people that can counter certain types that you're just weak against. It's very fun.
Yes. So, we didn't do the Nuzlocke challenge for this show. We started this way before the concept of this show was created. So why did we do this to ourselves? Why did we force ourselves to play the Nuzlocke challenge?
We did it because we currently have, it's called The Rock. It's the Rutschman Online Classic. And at the top of the show, you probably heard a shout out to it. It was essentially just Mick designed it as a kind of a competition between me and him. It's supposed to be every couple months. We've been running it, you've got over a year now?
I think it's been 3 years, and this will be our third, the Nuzlocke will be our third challenge.
Yeah. First one was Fight Night, and we were allowed to train for like 3 hours.
Yep.
Then we played a best of 3,
Yes.
and Mick won that one.
Sure did.
Mick made the trophy, and the second one was Omega Ruby and Sapphire, which Mick lost.
Yep.
And I'm the current champion.
Yes.
And until I finish it, until Mick wins, I gotta keep choosing the games and the rules.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just something to, as we grow up, like we don't live in the same town. We see each other kind of at holidays, maybe talk once in a while through text or something like that, but like we don't talk on the phone a lot. This podcast, I guess, means we're talking a lot more, but there was kind of like a sense of almost like growing apart, and it's kind of sad. It's one of the sad things of growing up is you lose parts of your childhood, right? Like you lose friends, you lose the connections. Like we lived in a small little community. Basically, we were best friends up until like I probably left for university. And like we slept in the same bedroom our whole lives, so just kind of stay in touch with one another and have something to do. I decided, if we did these little online games, like I was thinking more of like sports games, little kind of competitive games, and just have fun with it. Keeps us in touch, gives us something to talk about. So that was kind of my genesis for The Rock. And yeah, so far it's been so good. I mean, Tyson's really slacking on the Nuzlocke. We chose the old Pokemon in honor of the red, blue, and yellow being re-released on the 3DS this last February. I had my team ready to go probably, like if it was February 28th, it took me 2 weeks to be done the game.
Yeah, and I'm still currently not...
The end of June, Tyson he was like, I just beat Koga today! And I was like... Fucking Koga is like, that's like, you still have like 5 hours of game left. Like, what's wrong with you?
I'm busy, man.
I guess.
Busy.
I mean, you played these other games for this podcast. Like, what,
How am I supposed to balance all that time?
Yeah, so.
Gotta go to that and work and study.
So we do have a show. I have a Pokemon Yellow show planned with another special guest, not Tyson this time. So we'll get a little bit more flavor, see how that works on this show. With that, me and Tyson, we might do. So we won't be doing another Nuzlocke show for the podcast. We might be doing I was thinking either one of the remakes. I have a copy of Leaf Green and of Fire Red for the Game Boy Advance, so we could try and play that to see what the differences are. I kind of feel like I might be done with that classic series. I think I do have a copy of Heart Gold and Soul Silver for the 3DS, so we could probably play that, and we could kind of do the next gen of Pokemon on here. But in terms of that, I don't know if I'm going to be touching Pokemon. Well, I guess the next episode 5 is going to be Pokemon, so I was going to say, I won't be talking about Pokemon for a while. I'm kind of Pokemoned out. It's because I just finished playing Yellow, and we'll play through that game, and we'll have fun with it, though, so.
Yeah.
Cool. Then Tyson, you'll be back on for Zelda 2, probably in end of July, August sometime?
Yeah, I gotta get cracking.
Okay, cool. Finish Nuzlocke, finish 2, and then we can move on to bigger and brighter things. Yeah. Alright, so did we miss anything?
Not that I'm honestly thinking of off the top of my head.
So, quick recap. Pokemon TV show sucks. Self-imposed video game challenges, I don't know, they seem alright. They seem, if you're bored with a game, go for it. And
I think that they definitely have a purpose, and it's adds flavor to a game that you probably haven't touched in a really long time, and it gives you a reason to pick it up again.
Yeah, I guess actually one of the other ones we were thinking of Zelda was the No Sword Run. That's a self-imposed video game challenge too, right? So, yeah. All right, perfect. So, The Rock, we'll keep you guys up to date kind of with what happens there. Hopefully we'll maybe play The Rock by the end of the summer, even in the fall. I don't do a whole lot, so I got lots of free time. But thanks for your time today. Lots of fun.
Awesome.
I'm excited I might go cry and watch that sad little Charmander with his leaf now. It actually brings a tear to my eye just thinking of it. And fuck the Squirtle Squad. Those guys suck.
Yeah, they suck.
All right. Awesome.
Hey, I'll talk to you later.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Thank you for listening. You can contact Podtendo on Twitter at Podtendo Podcast, email us at podtendo@gmail.com, or check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/Podtendo. The music of Podtendo was used without permission and is property of Nintendo.